Not yet. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. Let me see where we are. I would like to say welcome to everyone. And today I have as my guest Spencer Cornelia. Spencer Cornelia is a big step for me because he's not in sub two and he's big. He's got a lot of followers. and as you know, I just hit my thousand. So this is a very large step for me. And I'd like to say thank you very much, Spencer, for coming. And we appreciate your being here.
Yeah, it was nice chatting with you at Sub Two Community Camp, getting to know a lot of the people in that community. And you got to 1,000 subscribers much faster than I did. So your growth curve is better than mine.
Well, well, I thought that was kind of slow. Tell me a little bit about your growth, um, curve. What was it like, when you first started, and when did you start?
January of 2015. So this is 8.5 years ago, right? And so what's crazy, what's fun is YouTube at that time was in a totally different place than where it is now. It was still a little weird. Like when I told my parents I spent some of my free time after my job filming myself and putting it on the internet, it was like, whoa, what are you doing, Spencer? That's so weird. And it didn't help that I wasn't successful in any way. So I didn't really have anything to point to. So yeah, this was 2015. It was just such a different era on YouTube. So that's when I started. And my first, I think I didn't make my first dollar until February 2020. So it was a little over 5 years to make my first dollar. And you need
Wow.
1,000 subscribers to get monetized. And so it was, yeah, right around 5 years to reach 1,000 subs.
Uh, Sorry,
Hello?
it's
You're getting distracted by the comments.
no. I'm just saying, like that seems like an awful long time to get to just 1,000. I guess
Yeah, well, when you're not good at it, it
mature
takes a
now.
while.
Yeah, it's more mature now. And it's funny because in 2015, I actually did a lesson with my students on how to start a YouTube channel in English because I was teaching ESL. So I showed them how to put, I had to figure it out myself first, and then I taught it. And then I forgot all about it. Never touched it, nothing. And when Pace said, okay, you got to go on, well, all sorts of crazy things started happening. I was getting, I was like, why am I getting all like a cat, a kitten all mixed up in with a ball? And I said, oh, I forgot I had a channel.
Time to grow it now.
Yeah, well, no, I had to shut that down. I understood what happened and I needed to clarify it. So, that's rather interesting. So in 2015, you said you had a job. And what were you doing before you got into social media?
I was in Oakland, California at the time. I was working sales for the Oakland Athletics, the professional baseball team. So I used to work in
You were?
sports. Yeah, I was a sport management major in college, Georgia Southern University grad. Worked in sports, and 2015 I was working in sales, and I wanted to do YouTube on the side, and so I started making videos about fitness. And so I'd take the camera to the gym, which at the time was such a bizarre thing. It was so uncomfortable. Like you're really egotistical enough to take a camera to the gym and film yourself working out. Who cares about you? But I knew YouTube was like the next big thing, and I could see it was so clear to me. I had wanted to make YouTube videos since 2013. So the fact that I've ultimately had success is it was really, really, really enjoyable for me because I had wanted to be a big creator for a long time, and it took me quite a while.
Well, good for you. Good for you because I think consistency and persistence is what it's about. But I'm not sure because I don't, I consider myself still a babe in the woods, so to speak. So is that how you knew Derek? Because Derek was the one Derek Barton was the one who introduced us.
We actually met that night. Me and Derek met. I didn't know him because I went to the airport. I didn't know that this was like a big event because Pace had asked me to speak the day before. Oh, there's Derek. Nice. And and I didn't know it was going to be a big event. So I get to the airport and started seeing some sub two hats, and I was like, oh, this must be like a thing. And then I started talking to a guy and a girl that was with him, and then Sam Singh came up to us, and then we started chatting. So then Sam had an Airbnb. I had nothing to do. I didn't know where to go, and so Sam was like, come hang out with us for a bit, him and Mac. And then we ended up going to that Airbnb that night, and then met Derek, met you, and met a few others.
Yeah, we're an interesting, crazy bunch, huh?
Yeah, it was a good time. I'd never been around a community so like positive and collaborative, which was really
That's
cool.
that's we are very, yeah. Pace is all about that for sure. So, um, what made you decide that you wanted to get into social media? I mean, you said that you were with the sports team and you could see it coming. Was it that you wanted to participate in something that you thought was going to be really big, or did you have a direction? And when you first started, what were you doing?
I didn't think it, I knew it. Back in 2013, there was a lot of young guys who were going out and talking to girls trying to get their phone numbers. This was
Yeah.
a really popular niche on YouTube at that time. And I was like, man, I'd love to do something similar. And so I used my last $500. At the time, I was interning for the Birmingham Barons, making $500 a month. And I
Wow.
used my last dollars on a Sony camcorder. But I after buying the camera, I realized I didn't have someone to film. So I was stuck. So like for a couple years, I wanted to be a YouTuber and I just couldn't figure out how to go film myself. And then 2015, in my free time, I figured I could just carry the camera myself. So I started going to the gym and filming. So I started with gym videos. I did that for a little bit, and it wasn't really getting anywhere. I wasn't a skilled videographer in any way. And then I transitioned to talk about a coding boot camp that I did in 2015 in Oakland, California. Or when I was living in Oakland, I did it in San Francisco. And so
Okay.
there was no one really talking about coding boot camps. I made videos, and this is where I first started to get
And
like
when you say
500
coding, are you talking about programming?
computer programming. Yep. So I ended up transitioning my career out of sports into computer programming, but no one was making videos on it. And it was the first time that I started to get like 500 views on a video, which to me at the time was a lot. I was like, wow, this is really
Yeah.
cool. But I
Yeah.
would go out in public and set up a tripod and talk where people were out walking around, and it was very uncomfortable. But at the time, there were way fewer people that could really show the roadmap to success. And so we were all kind of, it was like the Wild West. You're all just kind of trying to figure out on your own with no real clear roadmap. So that
Yeah.
was at that time, and then it's kind of slowly transitioned since.
I gotcha. I gotcha. That's interesting. So when you went into the coding area, you've ended up in a very interesting niche, which, if I recall, it was, transparent social media,
Somewhat, yeah. Calling out those who aren't.
calling out the ones that aren't transparent. Okay. So the topics that I saw that you were, covering are manyfold. And I was looking at it and I was like, oh my God, he's done influencers, mega churches, real estate, crypto, politics, taxes, you name it, it's on there. I'm like, I need a bigger, you know, banner to write all this stuff down. I think I'm going to have to just say, he's done a shitload, which you have. And, what made you decide that you're looking for bad actors and trying to expose them and finding them in these niches?
By the way, I've been doing it full time for like 3.5 years. So even real estate investors, like if someone doesn't know real estate and you talk to them, like I do wholesale and I do direct to seller, direct to agent, they can like list off all these things. So it's much easier when you're in it full time. But to answer your question, starting in 2019, so this was basically 4 years ago, I had this idea of there was in the real estate space, they had these flipping shows and they were at the time I was flipping houses and I could tell that they weren't sharing the real full details. And so I kind of, in my mind, I had this idea of how can I talk about stuff in the real estate community that those in the game know is true, but then the people who are sharing this on the TV, like what are they not sharing? That was where my mentality was at. So then I came across a creator named CoffeeZilla, who is massive now. He was on Joe Rogan recently. He's a good friend of mine, but he was making these videos titled Fake Guru Fridays, where he would talk about internet marketers, and I had the same feeling in my stomach, and I thought to myself I could do something similar. And so I just started down this path of looking at internet marketers in an objective way.
Gotcha. Gotcha. That's interesting. Oh, wait, what? Oh, I'm everywhere. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Clay. Sorry about that. Never know what I'm pulling up here. So that's interesting because he got to be pretty big, right?
He's massive now. I would consider him an A-list creator.
Okay. So you decided that's what you're going to do because you saw it being modeled. You're like, I can do that.
Yeah, because at the time I didn't really have a clear pathway. I was flipping houses. I had owned.
You
Well,
actually
I
were
bought a
flipping. You were flipping.
Yeah. I've been doing real estate since 2016. So I was flipping in Cincinnati. I had two houses going on. I owned a fourplex that I bought on an owner will carry seller finance community. I don't have to explain it, thankfully. So I had an owner will carry, and then I had a 7-bed house in Vegas that was a lease option. So like I was in the real estate game. Unfortunately, my flips were going wrong, and so I spent Friday nights. I was just inside. I didn't have any money to go out, and so that was when I found the video on it. Like a Friday night, I was all alone. It's like late Friday night one night. But anyway, yeah, I was in the real estate game, have been for the longest, but YouTube has since taken off a little faster.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I should say. So I am curious about all the stuff you've done in the last 3 years. Fascinating. Just
I've covered a
fascinating.
lot of different topics. Yeah, I think because the key with YouTube and social media at large for the audience is you have to stay novel with any type of entertainment. It's really hard to stay interesting for people. And when you're an entertainer, not an educator, right? Like Pace Morby's an educator. If you want to learn something, you're going to go to him year after year after year. But when you're an entertainer, you have to stay novel, meaning you have to stay fresh and new and always be bringing something. Like if you think about your favorite musician, if they made the same album 10 straight years, at some point you're just, okay, I've heard it. You're going to move on to the next musician. And so it's really challenging. And part of my mentality has been to cover a lot of different topics so that I, not only as a creator from my side to keep it interesting for me, so I don't have to face redundancy, I want it for the viewers as well, so that you never know really what to expect.
Gotcha. So it was your hook.
Yeah, in a way.
Okay. Okay. I have
Overall macro level hook. That's actually
yeah.
a pretty good. I've never thought about that. Yeah, you like the overall channels. You don't know what you're going to get.
True enough. True enough. I know that if we had unlimited time, I could really get a lot out of you because you've got so much in you. But I am curious when you think of all the, uh, egregious things that you have seen, and that the people that you're glad you're pulling the carpet out from them or looking under the sheets, whatever you want to call it, however you want to put it. I'd like you to tell us about a couple that really stand out. Which ones did you will always be at the top of your mind? Like,
Well, the worst business model in the world, I'll relate it to the real estate audience, is the form. They're no longer really active, thankfully, but there were the real estate seminars that people would get brought in. This is like the Rich Dad Poor Dad seminars and a handful of other people. They'd use a celebrity to promote all over the radio, all of the TV. You could come in for a free weekend seminar where you'll learn how to make so much money in real estate. So you go for free. It's a salesman on stage. The celebrity that you were influenced to sign up through doesn't show up, of course. So it's their salesman's on stage, and
sorry.
it's no. Just wait until how awful this gets. So they spend a full like 3 or 4 hours going over how much money they've made on. They show 2 examples of houses you don't know if they actually flipped. If you know real estate, hey, I bought this for 280, I sold it for 400, and you miss out on all the details. I made 120,000. No, you didn't. But they hype you up. And then they say, oh, it's just by happenstance. Next weekend, we're actually, our team is here. We're going to give you all the secrets in real estate. For $1,000, you can have our weekend seminar. So then you go to the $1,000 weekend seminar, and the whole thing is an upsell into their mastermind. But even worse, they would have people whose position on their team was to get you to share with them your credit information, your income history, all this stuff. They would get you to call your credit card companies and lie about your income. And so when you call the credit card companies and say, hey, I'm about to start making $200,000 a year, that would help you get higher credit increases. They would know how much credit card limit you had. And then they'd convey that to the other member of the team who was in sales, who would then say the program's $28,000. And the next person, it might be $48,000 because they had much higher credit limit. Oh yeah, this got exposed. This was a huge FTC issue. There were so many like this, and I'm utterly disgusted at anyone who participated. That to me is the scammiest business model I've ever seen. But there's so many, rug pulls in crypto. The NFT market was all just a whole bunch of hot potatoes. Gambling's pretty bad. I find gambling pretty repulsive, to lie about gambling victory and to promote people signing up or paying for some service so that you can teach them how to win at gambling, given how addictive gambling can be.
Exactly. I used to live up in Canada for a bunch of years. And it was amazing to see what happened with the BC because they do have legalized gambling. And it was amazing to see what happened. And they uncovered what was going on, and the money was coming directly from China. So all of a sudden, there's this whole provincial investigation about who knew what and why people were allowed to come in with bags and bags and bags of money that they were laundering through gambling.
Interesting.
Yeah, because it was brought in with the drugs that were coming from China. So, all of a sudden, Canadians kind of turned a little bit against that ethnic group and it was not good because we have many people who are multi-generational Asian background. They had nothing to do with it, but had quite a backlash. But gambling is one of those things that really can be horrible because it's so addictive for the individual, and there's so much that they can do in the way of damage.
Right. Yeah. Generally, addictions affect your health, and you can turn it around. And unfortunately, with gambling, you can lose significant amounts of money, which affects all areas of life, and most importantly, possibly your family, kids, all the above.
Yeah, for sure. So that definitely is one of the, I would say, a terrible, terrible thing to know how much somebody got awarded in credit and try to get every penny.
It's the worst business model you'll ever hear of. The more I looked into it, the more disgusted I became.
It's just wrong. So what else comes to your mind for, is that it? The worst one stands by itself, or are there?
No. I mean, the next video I'm making, I'm writing the script today. It's this company that's essentially a pyramid scheme. This guy promotes that he's going to build a tech company that's going to compete with Zoom and Facebook and all these other companies. And he brought in $97. And the problem is a lot of these scams reach third world countries because the people aren't sophisticated.
$97? I'm sorry. What are you getting for $97?
You're one of the founders, is what he calls it. And so I thought there was no way that more than 5,000 people signed up for this thing. 800,000 investors, $108 million, clear pyramid scheme. The guy for 5 years has been raising money. People could pay $97 to get access as a founder. And that led you, it was such an obvious pyramid scheme, but $108 million, and you've never heard of it.
Wow.
108 million. The company's called On Passive. $108 million. They just got hit with an SEC complaint. I made a video about them 2 years ago saying, like, stay away from this company. They're going to topple over any day now. And finally, the SEC complaint comes out.
Wow. Where are they?
He's located in Orlando, but they have customers all over the world. But the real problem is, like, it spreads into places like, oh, Dean.
Oh,
Dean. Yeah. I'll refrain from talking about Dean because I know our mutual friend is hanging out with Dean lately. So out of respect, I won't mention my opinions on him. But yeah, the problem is some of these, they reach like third world countries, like the On Passive one. So it's real sad because there's people that are in a position in life where they don't really have that money to lose, and they see it as an opportunity to better their life, and that's what it gets promoted as. So, right. I mean, $97 in Papua New Guinea, I can imagine is probably a lot of money.
Exactly. So, and then you have the exchange too, right? There's all sorts of things. I do think that that's really low when you're preying on the hopes and the last few dollars of someone, because they have kids, they've got families, they've got bills, and what the heck? I don't know.
Yeah. So a lot of my stories are like unethical stuff, or as what's the worst? Yeah, there's certainly plenty of bad stories, but I've enjoyed making videos kind of uncovering something that is in front of you, but you may not realize, for maybe a deeper dive into the UFC fighter pay, or a deeper dive into the music industry and why you may have heard some very popular musicians go broke. It's like, okay, I know they go broke, but why is that? So I like making videos on why your favorite athletes go broke. Stuff like that, where it's a little deeper dive than on the surface. And so I've tried to see myself as like an 80 to 90% entertainer and then 10% educator, where I try to have some type of educational element in my videos.
Well, that's a good thing for sure. I'm interested in knowing with the people that you were exposing, were you ever worried? I mean,
No, thankfully, I've never dealt with anyone coming at my house. I think it's because I've never made it personal. I've never made videos where it felt like it was in a personal attack. It was just simply I hadn't liked the marketing, or I had these victims speak out, or a lot of my stories are also public, which I try to keep it that way, meaning the story is already broken publicly. I'm not. I've definitely exposed stories before. I've done plenty of those, but I haven't really gone after anyone that really scares me. And there's been some that I've avoided.
Okay, that's funny. That's really funny. And you did get hit with one suit, right?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of a lawsuit at the moment.
Oh, it's still ongoing?
Yeah, it's still pending, which is annoying, but it is what it is.
And I have to ask you this. Okay, what is media liability insurance? And do I need it?
No, you don't.
Why not?
No one needs it. No one gets sued. That's the problem. Like, it's so rare. And obviously I'm not ignorant. I make content that has a higher probability of leading to a lawsuit. So I'm certainly not ignorant to that, but it's so rare that I just didn't think it would happen. I also got sued June of 2021. I mean, I'm a different person since then. This is over 2 years now. And so it's a different era. Media insurance wasn't quite as, oh, I appreciate it, Mina. Media liability insurance wasn't as known. Like CoffeeZilla had it, but it just wasn't really in the topic of conversation. And so I just never looked it up. And unfortunately, like it's too late for me to have it now because I'm already in the middle of a lawsuit. It's like finding out you have cancer than trying to get health insurance. But no, you don't need media liability insurance.
But you are in America, you know. I mean,
it's the litigious
the
country of the
most
world.
litigious country in the world.
You know what's interesting about lawsuits though is I remember coming up in the real estate game and people talking about you need 32 different LLCs, you need an LLC for each property. Lawsuits are, when you go through one, it's not quite as scary. Like it used to be this big boogeyman that existed. Really, the way I pursue life is, do you do things ethically? Do you screw people over? If the answer is, yes, ethically, don't screw people over, don't take advantage of people, do the right thing, there's nothing to worry about. So anyone can file a lawsuit against anyone, but the question is, are you going to be held liable? And if the answer is no, there's just not real. There's no real. I shouldn't say risk. There is risk, but you might have to spend a little money on a lawyer to defend yourself. But but the actual liability there is just not the case. Now, if you're the type of landlord that is a slumlord and your tenants are complaining and you never fix anything, then yeah, you're increasing the risk.
Yeah, I hear you. Oh, that is interesting.
And plus, no one's going to sue you. You actually have to cause damage to actually lead to a lawsuit. Like that's another part of it. What damages were caused? Like you could come out and say the worst things about me after this episode, and like, what are the actual damages to my reputation? You know what I mean? Like if you get, no, you wouldn't do it. But my point is like if you have 100 views on a video, mm-hmm. It's just not going to lead to a lawsuit. But if you do get big and you start talking shit about people, then maybe we can touch on that conversation later.
Well, it does bother me when I hear people not paying back their loans and things of that sort, or knowingly saying that, oh, this property, I own this property, but they don't. And then they get, so I'm like with Derek. Derek carries a baseball bat sometimes. And I feel like
I wouldn't want to be in front of that one.
No, neither would I. But the thing is that it is tempting to just say, what the, and call them out on it. And, I'm not sure exactly why more of that doesn't happen, but it seems not to. And you don't seem the least bit worried on that. You just tell it like it is. So I usually am pretty frank too, but because most people are worried about it, I figure I should.
I don't like to live a life of fear. I never have. I don't like to think. I learned a lesson a long time ago. I used to be that way, like fear stuff. And my friend said, "There's no point in fearing until it actually happens, and then you can come up with a solution." And so that's the way I try to live life. Is I try not to fear like something that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. And Judy says she's in the process of suing now because some folks think they can just take your money and lie. Yeah, they do it. And so then you have to fight them. And who wants to go to court? Who wants to give money to an attorney? Who wants to do that? I would just rather show up at their house with a very nice Hell's Angel guy and say, I'm here to collect my money.
Yeah. What do we need to do to solve this problem?
Yeah, exactly. And
Very intimidating. Yeah,
we're not
using
losing.
intimidation tactics, but don't verbally say it.
No, I'll just say, like, I was a little worried about this neighborhood, so this is, a friend of mine to protect me. So, um, how can we solve this? And I'm not leaving till it's solved, that sort of thing, because I am just a little old thing. People could just blow and I'd fall over, I'm sure. But I really, really, really get upset when I see this sort of thing happening, for sure. Anyhow, yes, lenders should be respected and paid back.
Absolutely. They make deals happen.
Of course, they make
who buys real estate cash? Like almost no one. You have to borrow from someone.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And if they lose their money, it's kind of upsetting when you hear the borrower say, "So what's the big deal?" I mean,
you're rich anyway, right?
Yeah, the risk. You're a lender. And I want to say, "Come on over here, and I'll show you the risk." I get really upset about it. Anyhow, but yeah. Oh yes, Mel. That's Melanie Palmer. Yep. Melissa Palmer. I don't like the short for it, Mel, because it's a Melissa, Melanie. Anyways, yeah, she's starting a service to vet people, which I think is really, really cool. But yeah.
At first, I thought that was veterans. I was like, oh, that's nice to help veterans. And okay, to vet borrowers. Yeah, I remember she's the lady that worked for the FBI or whatever.
Yep. Yep. For the federal government. Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for sure. And
well, speaking about some of my videos that you said are bad people. I mean, I've gone after a few guys that have raised money from investors and just have not delivered anything. One of them is Jay Morrison, this guy who had started a fund and raised like 13, 14, 15 million dollars, targeted the black community, and has bought nothing. He finally released his 2021 yearly returns with the SEC. And listen to this. He raised 13 to 15 million dollars. He had $500,000 in gross rental income, but $600,000 in management fees. I don't know how the hell that happens. And then also he had 1.2 million in marketing fees. And unironically, the marketing budget went to another company that he owns.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like your classic fraud scheme. It's so sad though, because these are a lot of people.
Yeah.
These are a lot of people that get into real estate for the first time, and now they have a tainted perception, and they think people like Pacer scams because they're charging money for the thing. Any educator's a scammer. Anyone raising money is a scammer. It clouds their perception of the community, which is unfortunate because I've been a part of real estate for 8 years now, 7 years, and I've been running a real estate event, like a networking event here for 7 years, and there's amazing people. Real estate's like 99% of amazing people. Yes, right. Yes, self-managing. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Yeah.
Self-managing your money is what it is. I kept your money in a bank account and I'm charging for it.
Exactly. Well, wait, isn't that what banks do and credit cards? Never mind. But I do agree that the worst thing is that it's not just taking the money. It's taking their time and taking their hopes. And that is, such a shame because, I see that even like in sub 2 when people come in and they go into wholesaling, like they feel they have to wholesale. I'm like, why? It's going to cost you. It's going to cost you for CRMs. It's going to cost you for lists. It's going to cost you for your time. Is it what you really want to do? Because if it's really what you want to do, cool. But most of them just think they have to start there. And 3-4 months later, they're like, oh shit, I've put out so much money and I still don't have a deal. I'm like, there are other things you can do. Don't feel you have to start there. So yeah, it can be a little bit depressing and take them completely away from the field. Oh, wait, I could get sued for that, right?
No. Well, you can get sued for anything.
Can I get sued for that when somebody
you can get sued for anything.
Wow. Good for you, Lance. And wait, maybe I shouldn't say that. Now I'm worried. Do I need to go get that liability insurance?
I hope you have something you can collect on.
Yeah. So even inside a community that's as great as sub 2, I have a blacklist, and I do check it. And
I think the key to try to understand is like who's at fault. And that's what I try to do a good job with my content is trying to evaluate who's at fault, because sometimes business deals go wrong. Look at all the startup companies that, Blockbuster is an example. Blockbuster went bankrupt, and everybody who owned stock technically lost all their money. So are the leaders of Blockbuster the problem? Well, no, not really, because it's just a company that just ran its course and lost money. And so no one's placing blame on Blockbuster. But if Blockbuster committed fraud, or if they raised a bunch of money and then just shut down their doors, well, now you got a story. And so I think that's, I can see the comments about that. Yeah, so I think if you evaluate someone as being a bad actor, then
this is turning out to be an expose, and it's all your fault. It's all
my fault. You bring my brand in, and then all of a sudden, communication is key. That's a great point of all along, and like transparency. It's like, here's what went wrong. Here's the proof of backing my claims.
Yep. Oh,
it's inevitable. I think it's always inevitable when you're dealing with it.
It is,
especially with money too.
You're going to lose money, but when people start taking money out when they shouldn't, they don't have the right to go in and take things out, without asking or informing and saying, well, that person owes me that money, so you go get it from them. That's not okay. So some of it's just, oh my God. This one, I don't know whether I'm going to be able to put this up live. This is incredible. All right, so
sounds like you need a little investigator to enter the community.
That's what I was going to say. Maybe this is the right community in more than one way. Looking for shade. So more than one way. But this is a hot topic just because of what's been going right on in a little bit. And because I'm sure that they came partly to listen to you because you have been exposing people, and they're wondering, how do I expose them? How do you expose them? Because if this was in sub 2, there's no way that those comments could go up. Partly because of what you said. Was it really malintent, or was it just incompetency? But the thing that I think is hardest from a lender's point of view is, even if it's incompetency, have the decency to communicate. Don't make the lender keep coming knocking at your door, and don't ghost them, or say, well, okay, I'm going to, I'll do what I can. I'm going to pay, $100 a month, and then they pay $100 for 1 month, and then they stop again. Stick with your word. And I know that there are people who really are sickened at the thought of not being able to pay back a lender. So they will go to great lengths. Well, that's
different personality types. Yeah, I've definitely
understanding. I'm going to be like, okay, but I get it. But when they ghost you, when they don't return your calls, when they say they're going to make good and they don't, and they give you one lie after another, it's not good. That's not good. Okay.
Yeah, some people can sleep well at night, some can't with it. Different personality types. What's really unfortunate about our legal system is that it truly is only for the wealthy and those who can afford to play, which is really frustrating. I'm unfortunately doing well enough where I can afford it, but it's crippled me financially. But I'm doing pretty well, to the point where I've paid $285,000 for my legal bills, and I'm incredibly privileged to be in a position where I can actually afford that. So if you didn't have that type of money, you receive what's called an automatic judgment, which in this case would have been $2 million. I literally would have lost everything if I didn't fight it. All right. So what about the person that just commented that's like, hey, this person took me for 20 grand. Well, the problem is the system is set up only for the wealthy. And so if you're out 20 grand, there's literally no ramifications for that person, because then what? I mean, you're going to show up at the door and risk a case with the police? Probably not.
I'm going with the Hell's Angels.
20K is enough 20K's had people dead before. And so to the wrong person, 20K is enough to really cause action. But anyway, so let's say you don't want to go the physical route. Like, what are you really going to do? You can't hire an attorney, because an attorney is going to cost way more. It's going to cost you your sanity for a year, and you're going to go to court, and then they're going to get a judgment, and you find out that they don't have any money, because that's why they can't pay you. So there's no pathway for you to get money back.
Yes, it is. It's very, very frustrating. And, I am sorry that it's cost you that much, but I personally understand, because I myself have been in a lawsuit that's just about done, but not quite. And it's going to hit close to $350,000. But it is Canadian money. So I think that's only about $50 American. No, I'm just kidding. It's much more than that. And it's on estate. I'm fighting my dead father, but I'm winning, so that's good. Mainly because he punished me my whole life for being a girl, and he thought he could do that from the grave too, but he couldn't.
Wow.
But it's a lot of money. But it
Yeah,
was
just
worth
to get
it.
to the finish line.
Yeah.
No, it's extortion. That's lawsuit. Civil lawsuits are extortion. That's all it is. Attorneys extort. That's what they do well. And it's not so much them. I don't really place so much blame on them. They participate in a system that's built to extort clients.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? It's almost
All you need is to spend 2 days to go sit in a room and hash it out. Here, provide the evidence for your claims. We'll have a third party there. Let's figure out what's fair, what's not fair, and let's save everyone money. But no, it's not going to happen.
The whole system is built around that. So that's the problem. That's the problem. So
real victims are the people that can't afford to play.
I know.
I have so many people. The guy suing me. I have 20 people in my email. They got took for $3,000 to $5,000, defrauded from them $3,000 to $5,000. Well, that's not enough to hire an attorney. That's not even that much money. No attorney's going to take a class action either because there's no upside for them, right? To make 60 grand, an attorney needs millions in damages for a class action. And so those poor people they're stuck. The best you can do is write a negative review on some random website, but that's not justice.
Yeah. I do agree. It's a tricky one. It is a tricky one. So we are learning about social media from Pace, and I'm interested in knowing, when did you decide to monetize your YouTube channel? How do you make money from it, generally speaking? I had gone back and seen one of the videos that you had posted when you showed you were at, what year was this? November of 2020. And you were doing a pretty healthy number of over 8,000 a month. How does that happen? I have my 1,000 now. What can I make?
Yeah, I'm transparent about everything. So you can ask me any specific question. I don't dance around numbers or anything. So I make most of my money from AdSense and sponsors. AdSense is Google owns AdSense. They place ads on your videos. And so when you reach 1,000 subscribers, and I think the numbers change, but it's like somewhere around 3,000 or 4,000 watch hours for the previous 12 months, then you will be in the partner program. And that allows YouTube to put ads on your videos and for you to receive money for those ads. So
how many hours? Because I know I've been looking at the subscribe. Hey, guys, subscribe. Please subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, please do.
I think it's 3,000 or 4,000 watch hours in the previous 12 months.
God, I'll never hit that.
You'd be surprised. It adds up. So anyway, once you hit those, you get in the partner program. I make $5 in my pocket. I make $5 per 1,000 views. And so some of my months where I'm getting 3, 4, 5 million views, I was making quite a bit of money. So 2020 was a really good time for AdSense because the advertisers were willing to pay quite a bit of money during COVID. There were, especially if they're e-commerce brands, they were paying a lot of money for ads. And so I was making quite a bit more. So in 2020, I probably made, it was somewhere between like 5,000 and 8,000 a month. 2021 was my biggest year. In Q4 alone, in 2020, the last 4 months of 2021, I made 140 grand just from AdSense. Wow. Yeah, just the last 4 months. I think I grossed 200, I don't remember, maybe 250 to 300 in 2021. 2022, I grossed, I think 250,000 from YouTube. Because I started doing sponsors. So sponsors are when you do a video, you have a 1-minute segment in the middle of the video when people say like, hey, this video is brought to you by this t-shirt company that I really like. And here's all the features of the t-shirts. So those are sponsors. And I get, the most I've ever gotten paid is $6,000 for a sponsor. And the least amount I've gotten paid is like $2,000 in my career. So somewhere it's generally around 2,500. Like right now, my rates are around 2,500.
I see. Okay.
And that's just for one video.
Hold your breath now. Everyone, this is being brought to you by Sub2. Pace, are you listening? I want to be a sponsor for Sub2. No, I'm just kidding. That's funny. There are some things I would advocate for, but I don't know. How do you decide if you're going to be a sponsor? Like speak for them. Like,
I have an agency that goes out and gets deals. We work with big companies, which is way easier because if they have 1,000 5-star reviews online, they're a big brand. They have products and services that are used by thousands of people. like there's really there's no issue with that. Like it's just a bigger company. The real risk is if you're dealing with someone really small and you don't know if they're going to deliver to the customer, if they deliver the product. I mean, at this point, sub 2, right? I mean, you obviously feel really confident in them. Well, there's a lot of programs and there's products all around your house right now that you'd probably enjoy. What about that couch? What about your bed? You know, if you
what about my new camera, my new mic?
Yeah.
That, guys, this is so funny. When I got to 1,000, I decided, all right, no more tinny tin like you hear right now. So I got this mic. I plugged it all in. I said, oh, that's pretty easy. It cuts out after 10 minutes. I don't know why. I'm sure it's user problem, but I'm like, I spent a lot of money on that puppy, so I'm not going to be, sponsoring for them unless I know it's my fault. I just have to figure it out.
Yeah. So that's a good question though, because there's a lot of talk about influencers and their responsibility with what they promote. And so yeah, like this month I'm set to make about 10,000 from sponsors, and next month I think it's 9,000 this month and 11,000 next month.
Wow.
Yeah, and then so AdSense is another 3 or 3,500. So it could be pretty good, but the biggest money you can make is when you have your own products. And so Pace is a perfect example when you can sell a expensive service, or if you have your own product line. You're seeing right now Logan Paul with Prime is probably the best example. That's a $1 billion company. Right? You can't sell enough T-shirts to make $1 billion, but if you sell a drink company that could be consumed worldwide, so that's the biggest way to make money is have your own products or services that you promote.
Interesting. Are you going to come out with any products or services?
Well, I've got a course, but consumer products probably not anytime soon. You need big business. You need a huge customer base, because what happens is all these guys team up with an already established company, like Kylie Jenner. All these people, they just find a company that's white labeling, and they just slap their name on it.
Right, I got you.
You got to be big enough to warrant that.
Right, and if you have a course, it would be in social media.
No, I'm doing house hacking.
Okay.
Yeah. What I'm most excited about though.
You want to also do like just a not very expensive but little lesson on social media, because you certainly have the experience.
Yeah, I want to build my second channel organically, like purely organically, and I think I can do it. I know I can do it. And so when I build a second channel, totally different strategy, totally different content, I then will feel more confident in releasing coaching or consulting on social media, because I want to prove to myself I can do it too.
Got it.
And I think doing it twice proves the first time's not a fluke.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. So everyone, in case you don't know, Spencer is pretty much everywhere. You can find him on Instagram, and you can definitely find him on YouTube for what he has been doing. But as he mentioned, he's got a new channel going. So everyone who's in here, could you do me a personal favor and search for Spencer the Investor? This is the second channel that he's putting up because he's starting into investing, and he presently has 621 subscribers. Let's see if we can get it up to 623.
That'd be amazing. By the way,
I will pay you if I have to.
Just a little quick tip about social media or YouTube specifically. You actually only subscribe if you actually want to watch the content. So watch content first. If you like it, great. If you don't have to watch anymore. Because what you don't want is actually what are called a lot of dead subscribers. And so I appreciate it's common wisdom for some reason, even though it's false, that you want more subscribers. And so this was back in like 2015, 2014 era of YouTube, where the only way you found people is to hear shout outs, and you went to their page and subscribed. That was the only way you could watch their content, because it would show up in your feed, all your subscribers or all the subscriptions you have. But nowadays it's not the case. Everything is subscription feed, or everything, is suggested feed and browsing feed. And so you only want people to subscribe if they're going to really watch your stuff, because if they don't watch, it actually hurts your numbers.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Basically, what happens with YouTube, if you want to know the deep inner workings, YouTube looks for your most loyal subscribers first. So if you have 1,000 subscribers, and let's say 100 of the people watch literally every video you put up, 100 click right away, within the first 3 hours, they're watching your stuff. When you release a new video, they're going to push it to the 100, not the 1,000. They're going to push it to the loyal. And then they're going to look. And if all 100 people click, that's the first signal to YouTube that this is a quality video. this type of audience likes it. So then they'll probably push to the next 200 people. So now 300 of your 1,000 have seen it. And they're evaluating how many out of that 200 people have seen the video. How many are clicking? Are they clicking and staying for a while? Are they liking the video? And then they'll start pushing to bigger and bigger circles. And then at some point, no one's going to click. And they realize they found the largest audience for the video.
Oh, that's interesting.
So when you have a bunch of what are called dead subscribers, which is an issue I face, the longer you stay on the platform, you just have a lot of people that have subscribed in years past, but don't watch your current content. And so
can you boot them somehow?
No. So it's never fun to see people unsubscribe. You never want that, but it isn't the most unhealthy thing, because if they stopped watching your stuff, it's better to unsubscribe, because then they never get pushed your videos anymore. And so right now I have 491,000 or whatever, but I probably really only have like 150,000 that are seeing the videos. So it actually becomes harder to grow as you grow.
Oh, that's interesting.
As you age. It becomes harder to grow as you age.
Oh.
Yeah, like me trying to get to like 600,000 subscribers is incredibly challenging, because I'm aged. YouTube boxes you in. They figure out they have a really good idea of what audience watches my stuff, who doesn't, and so when I release a video, it's getting pushed a lot less.
Okay.
So anyone watching, like, if you stopped watching people, don't feel bad about unsubscribing.
Yeah.
If there's like a creator you just stopped watching, it's not a bad thing to unsubscribe. Don't feel guilty about it.
Because that will lower the number and it will be better.
Yeah. Because YouTube, it's a signal to YouTube. If you have 100,000 subscribers and all 100,000 people are watching your stuff, then you're gonna grow much faster than, say, someone with 400,000 subscribers and only 100,000 people watching.
Got it.
Yeah, that's a good.
How do you figure that out?
You got to understand, I've been playing this game for 3.5 years. This is all I consume. I hang out with people that are very, very big on the platform, and so we talk about analytics and algorithm and strategy all the time. This is very much an art and a science, and there's a lot of science to it.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, if you ever wanted me to talk for hours, start asking about YouTube and like the deeper layers of YouTube.
Well, if we're going to be getting on YouTube, I just keep posting, and I try to bring people that I think are interesting, and what happens. I got my mic,
That hurts my soul. That's like the worst strategy in the history of the world. That's like, I just knock on random doors and see if they want to sell me their property. It's like, okay, yeah, theoretically you can knock on one every 100 doors that might happen to want to sell, but there's better strategies.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so you said that you have been in real estate for a while, and that you're doing house hacking.
Correct.
Talk to us about that. And this is what the new channel, guys, Time to Level Up. And you can see that he's got a few videos. He has 3. So this is, what, guys, this is where it is a good thing to get on there and watch them. He's got obviously more than just that, but the 3 that he dropped.
It'll be fun because I get to actually put my skills to the test, I think, with this one, because this one, the challenge is much higher. And yet I think the channel's already doing pretty well. The first video is at like 4,500 views, and the second one's at 9,300 views or something, which, by the way, is, to toot my own horn, is pretty fantastic for a new channel.
Wow.
Especially one that I don't promote on my main channel. So I'm trying to eliminate all the variables that work in my favor, because I want to prove that I can do it. Of course, I'm mentioning it occasionally. Like, there are some benefits, and some people recognize my face, so of course I have that in the feed. There's some benefits, so I'm not completely organic, but I'm as organic as possible for a channel with 500,000 subs, starting a second one.
Good for you. But
anyway, if anyone's trying to learn social media, if you watch my newer videos, you can probably pick up on like a lot of little things I do. I think social media is still like one of the best ways to grow, but that's very vague. What I mean is, it's one of the best places you could put effort in 2023. It's just in life. It's trying to build a social media. Like, you never know who's watching. You never know who's into you, like, just as a fan. It's incredible, like, getting recognized in public and just random people coming up to you and thanking you for, I don't know, doing something to their life. If you make content that, you could be knitting or something, and like someone develops a hobby that they never knew they were interested in until they watch your videos. Or maybe they weren't into real estate, but they watch your stuff and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to do real estate now. And you changed my life.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. That's what happened with Pace. He caught all of us, and we're, loving to follow him. So yeah, completely. It's hard to imagine about, having somebody come up to you in public and say, you know, oh, shouting out Bando Kivo.
Yeah, Bam Man Kevo.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, that is interesting. Tell me, let's get to some of the house hacking that you're doing because I want to
Sure.
cover some of that.
Sure. We could talk about house hacking, YouTube, whatever you want.
Whatever you would like, I'm game. But since you said that you're going into this area, tell me what you've
Okay,
done.
it was real estate related. So if the audience wants to hear it, I'm all for it.
Do you want guys in? Oh yeah, I'm going to get to do a pace thing. All right. So if you want them to talk about social media, put in a 1. If you want them to talk about house hacking, put in a 3. So there's no confusion. 1 or 3. What have we got? Hello.
You got to ask away, and then before the answers come in.
I have to what?
Ask away. Ask a question that was on your mind.
Well, I'm just wondering what they would like to hear about. Do they? Oh, so then they put plus. Okay, so we've got social media, social media, social media. I am here for both. I want 1 plus 3. I got 3, 3. Oh my God, this is okay. This is getting. Wait a minute. Well, it's a little bit hard to add up all these. How does Pace do it? Oh, and Becca is in Facebook. Hey, honey, Becca, come on over to YouTube because all I see is YouTube, and then occasionally I see one little Facebook, and it seems so lonely.
Well, I'll speak about social media to address those people. I think the key, if you're trying to build a following or anything, you have to think about like what's really interesting, entertaining, and interesting to a random person.
Oh, so they're saying house hacking.
Oh, house hacking. All right, we can switch over. But anyway, so what I'm trying to do with the second channel, that hopefully, if some of you want to start a YouTube channel, is like try to think about what's interesting. So there's like the how-to stuff has been done. If you're in the real estate space, it's been done ad nauseum. So how do you separate yourself? And so that's where my thoughts are come up with really interesting ideas within real estate space, like compare what you can buy for $1 million in different cities, how to live for free in a certain city. My second video that's doing pretty well was titled the neighborhood in Miami where $1 million is poor. It's like naturally interesting. Now I'm doing house tours just like most people, but how you package it, it's like, well, the neighborhood where $1 million is poor. That's really interesting. Right? It's naturally curious, driving curiosity. So anyway, if anyone has any questions, you can ask about social media, but we could talk about house hacking.
Well, let's talk about social media and house hacking, because when you're talking about house hacking, is that what your social media is going to be about, or is it going to just be about investing?
My strategy is going to mix both. I think with YouTube, you don't want to get locked into one box, and so the best strategy is to have what you would call content boxes. This could be 4 or 5 different things. And I did it with my main channel. I talked about gambling, fake gurus, athletes going broke, interesting news stories, crypto, right? These are all different boxes. And so to relate it to your audience, maybe you do sub 2, and then the next one you do flipping, then the next one's an interview. And so you have many different boxes, so it keeps the channel fresh. And so I don't want to do only videos about house hacking because that's a super, super, super small audience, and I'll never grow. And so I'll occasionally do a video. Like I did a video, my third video was how to live for free in Miami. That's a subtle sales pitch for my course on house hacking but I'm making the video entertaining. It's valuable to the audience from an entertainment perspective. And if they're interested in the topic and how to live for free, you can take the course. So I think that type of content's one box. I did my first video was what $1 million buys you in LA versus Vegas. And so that's going to be another box. And what I'd love to grow to is like what a starter home buys you in Italy versus New York or something. Like get continental. That's down the road when I have the funds to invest every dollar back into YouTube. I'm going to do content like that. And then I also had another box will be when I get the funds will be like I stayed at the most expensive Airbnb in California. And so that's a different box that you can talk about real estate, but notice that the packaging is a lot different. So I could go there and talk about why this property, talk about comps or why a house flipper would want to buy this house or what they should buy it for to rent it for this. So you can add in the educational element, but you package it in an entertaining way and you deliver it in an entertaining way. The way I explain it, like I don't have kids, but I imagine when you have kids, if you need to give them a pill that they won't take or you force them to eat broccoli, then you have to give them like pizza and then a little broccoli too. So you like have to put a lot of sugar around the item. So I feel like that's how YouTube is. Like you give them a lot of sugar And then right in the middle, you're like, oh, by the way, here's some analytical stuff. Here's some boring investor talk.
That is very interesting. I don't think I shared this with you. I'm not sure if I did, but I decided that I'm going to go into co-living, but not
Great.
in. Yeah, yep. And but it's not pad split. I'm looking. I don't want to CC minus D properties. I want to do B, B plus, maybe even A. So more on the higher end. And I was thinking, well, I am going to have an expert coming on in a couple of weeks to talk about it, which is great. But I was thinking I should start talking about it, but it's another box, but
Yes.
I was thinking of trying to teach on it, like this is what I had to do first. I think it's going to be boring as hell.
You can make anything entertaining. What was fascinating about COVID is some of the best creators were able to create with limitations. So the only thing, you should know this better than anyone. You're in the creative finance community. You don't need money, you need creativity.
I mean, well, you know what?
You can make, all right, here's a challenge. So you said co-living. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm immediately thinking you have many different characters that are built into the video. You have an added advantage of like, oh my gosh, Mr. Smith shit himself again. Like that's a character. And then you have another guy that was like homeless and now he's not homeless because of you, but he's like schizophrenic. And then you have another guy that like wants to sleep with this girlfriend that he's at work and he's got like all these problems at work. You have all these different characters that have all this drama in their life that you could introduce. And you get like, this is what it's like to run a co-living facility. And all these characters keep popping up. And then after each episode,
I'm actually shooting for the opposite. I'm shooting for people to be all like-minded. And I'm sorry, but I don't want all homeless.
But that's boring. You got to have a little drama in your life.
As I said, I'm looking for the opposite. It's because it's supposed to be quiet and happy and a little bit luxurious. Julie says it's a soap opera. I don't want soap operas. I don't want to own soap operas. Do you want to own soap operas?
I have before. It's not too bad. Adds a little flavor and variety to life. No, but there's the point is that you can always it still hides his pills into fruits. There's always a way to make something entertaining. It's just up to you to creatively express it.
Well, I have to really say I love the idea that you expressed about how much does X amount buy in different.
Don't steal it. Don't steal it. It's a good idea.
I'm going to be going to Greece because I have to fight the estate in Greece also. So, I'm thinking, hey, I could write this off as like a business trip,
Yeah. Now, obviously, the packaging is just one element of YouTube. The next is you actually have to deliver. And so that's why I'm not too worried. I think I can deliver really well. I've been in this game long enough that I feel like I know what to do.
Oh, and you don't have to worry about competing with me. You can just count on me dying at some point. Don't worry.
Well, the beauty of YouTube is we all uplift each other. If you make really good content and it brings people to that niche, then it uplifts everyone in the niche.
That's true. That's true. I was about to die. Oh, I'm killing some people, I guess. All right, I don't know. Well, that's interesting. I do want to hear a little bit. Tell me the co-living properties that you do have, and what is your concept on where you intend to go. And I want us to stay in touch with co-living.
Yeah, I started in 2016. I bought a condo in Las Vegas Country Club in September 2016. It was a 2-bed, 2-bath. So I've been doing it for 7 years. And about 2 years into owning that, I thought we were at a top, and I thought that the condo that I owned was not going to be worth any more. And so I wanted to get out and actually transition into a 7-bed house that my buddy owned. So I did a lease option. I sold the condo, did a lease option into a 7-bed because I wanted to go to the extreme, because I saw that this house hacking thing was the next big thing. And I thought it was a great way to cash flow. Even to this day, it's really hard to cash flow in a single family if you're buying traditionally through a traditional lender. Yeah. And so I was like, man, this thing seems really lucrative. I could live in a house and cash flow. And at the time, I wanted to quickly get out of my job. Not that I hated it, but I was only making 45 grand a year, and I felt like I was talented enough to make that from real estate. And so I did the 7-bed, and to this day, I still own the 7-bed. I have a 6-bed, 2 6-beds. One of them I occupy, one of them I don't occupy. So I have 18 tenants between the 3, and then I have a 4th house that's an Airbnb. It's a 5-bed, 3.5 bath. It does pretty well in Airbnb. If I get the permit, which I'll probably know in the next month or two, then that's going to be huge. That's why I converted to an Airbnb to get the permit in Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas, yeah, but
In Las Vegas.
Isn't that kind of like crazy? Don't they have like some kind of gambling lottery thingamajiggy?
Kind of, yeah. Well, look who owns the city. It's the casinos.
I know. But it seems so crazy that you base your Airbnb on a lottery, you know?
Yeah, well, the benefit of the rent by room is that if the Airbnb doesn't work out, I can drop it to co-living.
Hey, that's a good idea.
Yeah, exactly. So think about the packaging. Like what would get Rebecca interested in the video? If you did like how to buy a co-living space, like no one's clicking on that. But if you're like, I found the worst investing strategy, like that's interesting. And you could go through like, here's how this could be the worst investment. If you did this and you did all the things wrong. So a lot of it's in the packaging on the front end. So I'll tell you a little secret. Most big YouTubers, they don't make a video unless they have the thumbnail and title already done.
The thumbnail and the title?
Yeah, the thumbnail and title will come first. Because if you don't create a great thumbnail and title, you don't even make the video, because that is what matters most.
That's interesting. And you've seen that I'm doing that little idea with the movies.
Yeah.
It seems people like it. I get a lot of comments. Now, interestingly, I am trying someone new for the first time, and I asked them to do the thumbnail before I finished, but I had to have her go back and do it again. It was it wasn't matching because you looked and I looked. It was just too silly. But I think that this one's much better. But so the title has to be really catchy, and the thumbnail what's with the thumbnail? It doesn't go up until after.
So this is a little different. You're doing live streams. That's a little different. But I'm talking about YouTube creators who, especially if you're in the entertainment space, if you're making a video that out in public or something, you basically
advertising for it.
No. Like the thumbnail on YouTube, when you post a video and you have the thumbnail, it's created before the video, because if you don't come up with a good thumbnail and title, I'm telling you, it is like drastically different. And when you reach a level of getting millions of impressions, a video could do 500,000 views versus 5 million views. Sometimes it's just the thumbnail. I'm dead serious.
Okay.
It's that drastic.
All right. So here we go. I know that you're supposed to be just a guest and a new friend, but I challenge you.
All right.
I tried on the thumbnail. I don't know, but you'll see what it is. And I would like it if you could give me either some suggestions or give me a thumbnail that you think is going to get more hits. Teach me on the thumbnails.
And this would be for a podcast?
For our podcast.
These are a little easier. You usually just want two faces, and then you want to have some type of consistent background.
Okay.
So if you look at one thing that I recommend is look at other podcasts, look at what they do, and try to figure out what it is they do. Don't exactly copy what they do, but what's the background? What color text? What style of text? Where does the text go? Try to figure out what works.
Okay.
And so that's my best recommendation.
Give me some feedback on the one that you see, which I will, upload in a little while. Okay. And I definitely will think a little bit more about, because your thumbnails, I can see, attract a lot, right? You've got wealth with a huge arrow, and then the title, right?
People have 6-figure jobs just for thumbnails. Mr. Beast has a team just for thumbnails, and he only releases one or two, 3 videos a month.
Wow.
Oh yeah, they'll have a whole video shoot just for the thumbnail image. It is everything.
I'm in trouble.
The amount of science and art that goes into thumbnail design.
You're going to put me in the big leagues. I'm sorry. It's funny.
Yeah. No, people are building teams now just for thumbnail. And if you look at, there's a guy, Alex Hormozy, who's really popping right now in the business advice space.
Yeah.
If you watch it, not that you have time, but like if you just sat there and watched for like a couple hours after he releases a video, you'll see the thumbnail change multiple times because they're A/B testing it, and they're A/B testing every 30 minutes, and they'll see which one performs the best.
How does that work? Are they waiting for to see which one they get more hits on? Because you can't.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when I release a video,
same people are still watching. Because what if it's they had to go to work or something like that?
Well, who's clicking on it? That's what they're. What's a thumbnail? Thumbnail is the image on YouTube. It's the image. It is everything. It's basically like, what is this video about?
The little LOL figures are telling us they're joking, I think, but I'm not sure.
Got it.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. Boy, there's a lot. I think I might have to have you back if you'd be willing.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm definitely what's interesting about when you become a bigger creator is you have so much data that I know right away, like within an hour of releasing a video, I pretty much know how it'll perform, and I could pinpoint how many views it'll be at.
how many views are we going to get?
Well, this is a different channel, so I couldn't tell you.
Notice he's being political, right? He's like, I don't know. It's your channel. But so I know I don't know. But I do know that I'm going to get this mic working or it's going to go back. So, we'll see where it all goes. Okay. Well, I think we're at our time. We're a little bit past. And, oh, by the way, please don't leave. Stay in the back room for me or whatever.
Yeah, if you wanted me to come out, just if people like really want me to, I would probably be better off talking social media, or just come up with one topic and then have people ask questions or like very specific questions that you want. That way it's like very structured 30 minutes
Okay.
or so, or 45 minutes or something. Then
Sure, I could do that. But don't leave the studio now. I want to chat with you for just a second. All right, everyone, I'm going to say goodbye for now. And as you know, I'm always improving. So, be gentle with me and all that stuff. And we will see you again next week. Take care. Thank you very, very much, Spencer.
yeah, thanks for joining, everyone. Thanks for asking questions and engaging.
Absolutely.